got one more. We got to crown one more state champion here at the University of Dayton Arena. And, of course, it's going to come down between St. Ignatius and the Centerville Elks. We welcome you in. It's our OHSA pregame tip-off coverage here on the OHSA social media pages, of course. And we're excited for our final championship game of the weekend. Justin Kidder with you here. Jeff Gilbert, who covers Alter and Centerville for Dayton Daily News, of course, hanging out with us. And then, of course, the one and only, the coach, Mr. George Howard. Welcome in, our last one coming up here. Let's crown a Division I champion, shall we?
I'm tired, man, but you know what? It's the last one for all of us. We've all been here all weekend. I think him and I have been here every freaking game the whole weekend.
I just had my mail forwarded over here.
You did get a chance to go home early and get a good night's rest. But anyway, listen, it's been a great weekend, and you couldn't think of a better way to end it than to have these two teams, Centerville and St. Ignatius. They're both, I was just talking to Coach Joyce, and I said the one thing about both of you is that you both are battle tested. They've been there, they played tough schedules, they've been here before, and it's going to be a good game. It's just going to be, once again, who makes the proper adjustments for the team they're going up against. It's going to be tough, man.
No, it really is, and we'll turn our attention more towards Centerville and St. Ignatius coming up here in a moment, but we just did crown a Division II state champion in the Alter Knights, and of course that was an interesting, the Division II games have been fantastic this weekend, especially the semifinals setting up this matchup between Maysville and Alter. Alter jumped out quick. Maysville was, every time you would think that they'd have an opportunity to come roaring back into it, big shots made by Alter, and really, it was kind of a quiet night for RJ Greer, who had big numbers, but quiet big numbers, if you will. It was just a total team effort from Alter, which is no surprise. You're Division II state champions.
No surprise at all. They always have a lot of guys that can score. They almost always put 5 guys on the floor that can hit the 3 ball most of the time. They're in that situation. And then Joe Brand had his career high tonight, 23. He's had big games before. He had a big game to win a tournament game last year down at Xavier. He's a hard-nosed kid who just leaves it all out there for, to not be cliche, but that's exactly how he plays. And he scored 18 of his points in the second half. He got hammered twice going the hole, finished and made them. And I think plays like that lift you, don't they, Coach? Like when your teammate gets hammered and makes it in the and one, that fires you up. And he did that a couple times, and I just think that really kept them going, and they believed. They were a super confident team.
He was blowing kisses to the crowd. He was feeling himself, and I'm a huge Joe Brand fan for that. I love players like that. He killed it tonight, but Alter, just a fantastic performance. Maysville, they kept hanging in there. Every time they'd cut it close, to Alter's credit, they'd pull away, but just a fantastic Division II championship game.
Hey, Maysville hung in there as long as they could, and they played tough. They never gave up, but that's what we talked about earlier with this team. Yep. They have that never give up attitude, man. And I told the head coach after the game, came up, gave him a hug, and I said, listen, man, you have nothing to put your head down about. This team has had a great year. You guys have fought hard. You've developed a great group of kids, and I love the way they play. I'm a Maysville fan now, and it's just fun watching them guys play because they play hard. Now, a lot of teams, at the way that they came after them today, they would have given up. But they didn't give up. They kept fighting hard towards Alter. And that speaks a lot of character on that team.
Absolutely. Again, Jeff Gilbert, Dayton Daily News, covers the Alter Knights and the Centerville Elks. We have quite a few guests that we're going to be kind of running through here, getting you set for this Division I state championship game between the Centerville Elks, of course, and St. Ignatius. Jeff, we appreciate you popping up. We know you have a deadline. We know you have a story to get in. So real quick before you head out, just thoughts on this Centerville, St. Ignatius Division I championship game, and just a couple of the players you're kind of keeping an eye on heading into this.
Well, first of all, I wish I'd have gotten to see the first meeting. I wasn't able to be at that one, double overtime. So that tells me this is going to be a tight game, right? I do think Ignatius suffers a little bit from having Sam Springer out, another 6'7" big guy. But I think from Centerville's perspective, who I've seen, I think they did last night what we talked about it last night. What do they have to do to win? Well, be locked in on defense and hit enough shots. And that's kind of who they are. I mean, they're going to lock in. They're going to play great defense. They're bought into the system and hit shots. And, their 2 leading scorers combined for 15 last night, and 2 other guys were their leading scorers. And that's the kind of team they are, kind of like Alter is. They can come from all kinds of places. And I think Ignatius can do the same thing, but Centerville, from what I've seen, they got guys that can hurt you in a lot of ways. And so it's just going to come down, really, I think, on the defensive end. Whoever can make the other team most uncomfortable on offense and make it tough to score is going to win this game.
Well, hey, we got other guests, so I don't want to,
You're right. I didn't want to be disrespectful and interrupt the coach. I just want to make sure. But no, Jeff, thank you so much. Jeff Gilbert, Dayton Daily News, thank you. Appreciate your time. We'll have more of our OHSA tip-off pregame coverage as we get you set for Division I championship action, the Centerville Elks, St. Ignatius. But we'll step away for a brief second. When we come back, TJ Petros is going to hang out with us as he'll continue to help us set the stage for our final championship matchup here tonight at the University of Dayton Arena. We'll be right back. All right, and we are back. Welcome back. OHSA Radio Network is where we're going to be sending it down to coming up here momentarily, getting you set for Division I state championship action. The Centerville Elks, St. Ignatius, they're going to wrap it up for us here after a long but fun weekend. The end of an era, the final game of what is going to be the end of the Final Four semifinal championship era here, which we've spent a lot of time on over the weekend, of course, but we got a big one to close it out. We got TJ Petros with here, Kurt Stubbs, and this is not the what's the name of the podcast? The Drive to Dayton. What's the name of the podcast? Help me out here.
The Drive to Dayton.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm keeping the car on the road, but yes. Tell everyone a little bit about your guys' podcast, because the reason you guys are with us is because you guys do such a fantastic job of covering the high school basketball scene here in the state of Ohio. But the Drive to Dayton podcast, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm sure you drive better than Ralph, so I mean we'll take it. Substitute driver. But yeah, Kurt reached out to me and Roth. I want to say it was about the midway through last season, and said, "Hey man, I got an idea." And he was like, "I don't think anybody sees more basketball in person than you two." He was like, "I love to do a weekly show where we just kind of lead up to the state tournament and preview games and players." And at the time, I'm thinking, hey, whatever. Mondays are usually my free day. Don't have much going on, and it's blossomed into a pretty cool project. I'll say one of my favorite parts of this year has just been able to go to games and events, and strangers that I've never spoken to or shaken their hand before come up to me and say, "Hey man, you guys do a great job with the show," or "Hey, you're much taller in real life than you are on Zoom."
Yeah, I get that all the time.
Yeah. So it just was just kind of a side project that just has slowly but surely turned into a pretty cool passion project. So yeah, appreciate Stubbs for kind of initiating that and getting the ball rolling.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so there was no doubt in my mind when I had this vision of what I wanted to do with it, that those were going to be the two guys that I was going to ask. No one sees more games from corner to corner in the state. I don't get out as much live as I used to 10, 15 years ago now. Got a family, a little harder to get out. But I knew I could rely on these guys and just kind of be the assist guy, and they've been they're what makes the show go because they see so much.
Well, you guys do a fantastic job. And again, these kids who, and again, we're just talking about the kids that we've seen here this weekend, but so many talented high school basketball players throughout the entire state of Ohio who dream about getting to this level, about getting to this stage of the tournament. And these kids behind us that are warming up right now, we're excited to see them play against Centerville, St. Ignatius coming up. But again, thank both of you. Coach Howard's going to come back on with us here in just a few moments as we wrap this up. But I wanted to bring you guys on. Here we are, the grand finale, Division I, St. Ignatius, Centerville. Kurt, we'll start with you. Your thoughts on this matchup, because this is a highly anticipated matchup and one that I think everyone's going to really enjoy as we wrap it up here tonight.
Yeah, I don't know if you could ask for a better matchup to end this four-division era that started in 1988. It's funny because Coach Cups and the Elks, this is 4 straight years. He's got a chance to win 2 titles in 4 years in Division I, which is very, very hard to do. Cam Joyce, his father's got a few state championships. He's going for his first one tonight. I just think this is such an evenly matched game. It's really hard to get a feel of who is going to win this game when you think about the way these two teams played each other in the regular season. TJ, I don't know about you, but I'd love to see a game in the 90s to close this thing out.
Absolutely. So these two teams matched up back in January. Centerville was in control majority of the game. Ignatius found themselves having to rally back. Quinn Wilkie, the kid who hit the game winner last night, hit the game-tying 3 in that one to force overtime, and then it would go on to a second overtime where Ignatius would pull away. If we get any kind of game similar to that tonight, it's going to be a great way to end the weekend. So, 2 of the better coaches in Ohio, 2 of the more talented teams in Ohio, 2 teams that have been knocking on the door the last couple years. It should be fun.
All right, well, before we let both of you guys go again, I appreciate both of you giving us some time here on our OHSA tip-off pregame coverage. Our players to watch for tonight. What are a couple of players that you're expecting to have a big impact on the result and outcome of this game, regardless of who wins? Who do you think is going to step up big here tonight, a player for each team?
So obviously Quinn Wilkie was the hero last night. A kid that I think is an unsung hero is Jack Saponik, the senior from St. Ignatius. Been really good all year. I have a hard time imagining him having another kind of average to bad game like he did last night. He's just such a competitive kid, an athletic kid. I think he finds a way to make a big difference in what's going to be his last game of his high school career.
That's for you. What's a player that you're kind of thinking, man, I'm excited to see this individual here tonight?
I think this is kind of obvious, but I think Jonathan Powell is a kid. Last night he got held scoreless in the first half. I think Jonathan Powell needs to have a really big game here tonight. I think you're going to see Eli Greenberg is going to be pretty solid tonight, as he always is. But Jonathan Powell, if he has a big game tonight, I think the Elks get it done.
All right, well, there you have it again. TJ Petros, Kurt Stubbs, awesome enough to give us some time here as we get you set for Division I championship action, the Centerville Elks, and of course, St. Ignatius. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. We have one more part of the show to go as myself and Coach George Howard reunite to put a bow on our tip-off pregame coverage. The Centerville Elks, St. Ignatius. We close out our pregame tip-off coverage when we come back.
I wanted you to
All right, and we are back. Justin Kinner, George Howard, the coach George Howard, with you here, getting you set. Division I OHSAA State Championship action. The Centerville Elks, St. Ignatius, TJ Petros, and of course Kurt Stubbs. They were great, and I really appreciate the efforts that they make too, giving so many of these great kids the coverage that they deserve.
Hey, those guys, they know what they're doing, both of them. And Kurt doesn't travel as much, but TJ and Mike Roth, they do a great job with keeping people informed on high school basketball. You've got one person covering one part of the state, and then you've got another one covering the other part of the state. But
you're not green. It's all right. We're live right now. We're just making sure that the mic is turned on. There we go. We're off and rolling.
Okay,
Yeah,
so what I said was, did they hear me anyway? Okay, so what I said is that you got, they do a great job at what they do. You've got, Petros covers the northern, the north part of the state, and then Mike covers the southern part of the state, and they both do a great job of keeping people informed on what's going on in high school basketball.
No doubt, and of course, as we only have a few more minutes remaining, you get that big game atmosphere. I saw Coach Cups as Alter was celebrating their Division II championship. He was kind of hiding off in the corner, just watching it all. I said, Coach, I normally don't interrupt coaches when they're in the zone, and I could feel you're in the zone, but you hoping that's you coming up here in a bit? And he goes, oh, no doubt about it. He goes, the team's locked in. They're ready to go. But I'm happy for Coach Cups in Centerville. But, again, they got to go close it out tonight in St. Ignatius. They're not going to make it easy.
Well, you got two coaches. Coach Cups, Coach Coach Cam Joyce, they're both like that. They're both zeroed in, but you've got probably a Hall of Fame coach in Coach Cups one day, and he knows how to get his guys prepared, but so does Cam Joyce. He's the son of a Hall of Fame coach. So, they're both going to have their teams ready. It's just going to be a battle, and I'm excited to see who wins it so I can go home.
Absolutely, and I want to highlight, too, the knowledge that you have and the relationships that you have with so many of the players and coaches that we see out here, and your knowledge that you bring to the table. I appreciate your time this week as well. You bring a lot to the table, and I know a lot of people appreciate the work that you do, so thank you.
Well, I'm glad that, Tim and Doug believes in me enough to ask me to be a part of this. Had some great conversation with them this week, and I just enjoy being here, enjoy being with guys like yourself, spending the day with you that this is what you do and you're good at your craft, and being able to share my basketball knowledge. I'm going into my 42nd year of this, man, and I love what I do because this is what God has me to do, and I'll continue to do it till I can't do it anymore. And I'll be here every year, hopefully, until I can't, but I've had a great weekend, man, and there's nothing, and I mean there's nothing like high school basketball at the Final Four of the state championships.
All right, we're about to send it down courtside back to the OHSA Radio Network. Coach Howard, your gut is telling you what about this matchup? What is it about the keys to this matchup? What is your gut telling you about how this is going to unfold tonight?
My gut is telling me several different things, but I think the biggest thing that my gut is telling me is that it's going to come down to the end. I believe this is going to be a classic big-time matchup between two powerhouse teams. And you've had one team that's kind of been a powerhouse down here on this side of the state, and you've got another team that's been a powerhouse down there on that side of the state. Nobody is surprised that these two teams are here. Nobody. Because a lot of people, especially in Northeast Ohio, they expected them to be here. And so it's going to be a battle of two good coaches, two good teams, and hey, maybe it'll come down to who has the last shot. That's what we would love to see, right?
That's what we would love to see, and that's how anyone would hope that a championship game comes to a close. And speaking of coming to a close, we're coming to a close. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We got a good one here tonight as we cap things off. Division I state championship action. The Centerville Elks and St. Ignatius going head-to-head coming up here in just a few moments. That wraps it up for Coach Howard and myself, Justin Kidder. We appreciate you for tuning in. It's now time for Division I state basketball action.